Let's talk about the franchise owners themselves. Are they mostly owner operated, manager operated locations? What's your typical franchisee like? What's their background?
Yeah, at this point in our development, we have a lot of owner operators. We are starting to see some multi-unit level operators move into the space, and we've got several now that are operating multiple facilities. The good news is over 90% of our franchisees are looking to open their second and third locations. So that's always a good sign when they want to open more.
That is a great sign. And what is holding somebody back? Do you have a development schedule on when they could open a second location? And also, I'm sorry, but piggyback on that, how big is their territory? Is it a protected territory, or how do you divvy that up?
Yeah, so we typically, depending on the geography that they're in, is a little bit different. So we look at kind of by travel times. So if you get into, LA, your territory is going to be smaller, but it's more dense. So you might have a territory there that's 10 miles. And then if you're in Fargo, North Dakota, you might have a territory that's 25 miles. Just because there's less population and people can drive further and shorter time frames. And that's really, I think, how our parents look at it is what's the time on the road to get there,
Of
right?
course.
For a sustainable membership.
Right.
Yeah.
And back to the development schedule, if I wanted to open
Yeah.
a multi-location, how does that work? Do you put them on a schedule or?
We do. We do what's called an ADA, which you're familiar with, Area
Mhm.
Development Agreement. And typically we would start someone with somewhere around 3 locations, and then we put them on a schedule that's usually annually.
That's, yeah, I mean, that still, it's aggressive, right?
Yeah, it's aggressive. And we work with them because we know real estate is a little bit of a challenge in our area because it requires 20-foot high ceilings. And you're not going to typically find that in retail. That's the main reason that we're not in retail. It's just very difficult to find that. And if you can find 20-foot ceilings, then you're dealing with, typically they don't do clear span in those facilities. They've got posts every 25 feet.
Right. Yeah. Well, wow. You have a different set of circumstances to deal with and challenges. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
what
yeah,
business you're in, right? We could both be in sports, but we just have completely different obstacles in our way. But
that's right.
you guys have grown so much in such a short period of time. And I would even shorten the amount of time because since you franchised, starting out right before COVID or right during COVID, so much of this growth has really happened in the past just 2 years.
Yeah.
So have you thought about what is holding you back, if anything, to be able to grow and scale this thing more quickly? Or what is sort of your mindset on how you want to keep developing and opening up Shoot360 locations?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think our kind of range, if you will, is to get to 700 to 1,000 locations by 2030. That's really directionally, and that's including some international stuff, and a lot of that will depend on how fast we move on the international side. But generally, speaking right now, we feel like we're going to be really aggressive going forward, and it's really just a matter of can we find the real estate, and we've built the team. I think that's an important thing that I would say is the last year and a half we've built a really good team. In fact, 3 years ago I brought in a CEO, Terry Michelson, who took a company public and has grown a lot of businesses. He had served on my advisory board. And I knew that I thought we had something special and that we really needed some experience behind it to kind of help scale it. And so what he's done a great job of is really helping build the team and guide all the pieces that we've needed to make sure that as we really start to go faster, that we're in a great position to do that.
That's super smart. How big is the corporate team?
Yeah, we're at, I think, 60 right now. A few part-time people that put us at about 65.
Tell me a little bit about the elaborate training that you guys do, because teaching somebody to run a sports league is one thing, but you're teaching somebody how to run these facilities, running the technology. What does the training and support look like for a Shoot 360 owner?
Yeah, and that's been, I mean, that was our big challenge in COVID, right? Because we couldn't get face to face, but
Right.
we bring them in for a manager and training program where we bring them on site for about a week and we work in the facilities with them. And then because of the advent, how popular Zoom calls and video calls have come, we do a lot of training over usually a 90-day period where we're online with them and we go through our manuals and answer questions. And then before we open the facility, we go in for about a week before, and our training team comes in and works with them, and then we're there for their grand opening. And then we have what's called a hypercare program over the first 30 days where they have direct access to somebody who answers any questions that are either immediately urgent or that we got to get answered. So we feel really good about where our training program's going. We know we got to keep working on that, and we take feedback from our franchisees and feedback from our people, but we keep working diligently to get, we want to be world class at it.
Have your franchisees asked yet, hey, Craig, are we going to expand sports?
Yeah, I think someday we will. There's no question. We've built the technology that we have does transfer to other sports, but we want to be really, really good at basketball. To be honest, it's where our passion is right now. We don't want to get distracted. We know that there's a lot of technology that will cross over, but we're moving into markerless technology. We're moving into biometrics. We're moving into we own the ball up the side of the rim. That's where all our patents live. And now we're moving to the mechanics side of it. If you don't have what happens with the ball on the rim, knowing the mechanics does not mean anything, because you don't know what the result is if you can't take that, right? So we're working to have the other side of the ball, and what we want to do is we want to take all of the potential and opportunity out of basketball, really get it out there where it's meaningful, and then we'll potentially look at other sports.
Let's go back to this patent thing. So how many patents do you guys have?
There's 25 active patents with over 500 claims, and then another 6 or 7 that are currently. And I want to be clear, our partner NOAA, who are the experts on it, we work with them to build the patents, and they're absolutely amazing at it. They leave no stone unturned.
That's great, Craig. You guys are building a fortress over there.
Yeah, a big moat around our business. Yeah. And that's the nice thing, not to ever knock any other franchise, but one of the neat things about us is, you don't have to worry about somebody opening something like us down the street or in the same town. I won't say it's impossible, but it would be very difficult to penetrate the areas that we have surrounded.
Wow. What's the investment range of the franchise opportunity?
Yeah, typically 500 to $1.5 million is kind of the range.
Is that range because of the size of the facility, and of course it's different expenses, or the cost of the facility is going to vary greatly, I would imagine?
Yeah, great question. So number one, yes, size. Number two is if you already have an existing facility, we just come in and plant the equipment, and so it's a less expensive kind of application, if you will.
What about on this mix of people that are putting a Shoot360 in a facility already? How common is that?
Well, it's becoming more common, but I'd say that's probably 30 to 35% of what we're doing at this point.
And how many? I'm sorry, I should have asked you this earlier. How many courts are typically in a Shoot360 facility? Is that standalone, that 10,000 square foot area?
Usually in a 10,000, half a court. If they go to 12 to 13,000, there'll be a smaller full court.
So you've been franchising this now since 2019. What would you say has been your biggest surprise so far since you guys started doing this?
That's a great question. I think a couple of things. One would be the sheer magnitude of building the resources behind it to support everything that you're doing in franchising and the teamwork that it requires to do that. And then I think the other thing that's kind of been a surprise is just how gifted and passionate people are about opening their own business. And then in our particular case, where we're working with kids and developing something, how much ownership and input they give to advance the business, which is really exciting because, as you know, the best ideas don't typically come from corporate over the long term. They come from the franchisees. So we're very open to that and excited about that.
That's so true. I always said that having a sports franchise or being a sports franchisor is a blessing and a curse. The blessing is that it was sports, so it attracted so many people interested in opening one of our franchises. The curse is that it was sports, and because people knew something about sports, they felt like they had to adapt their knowledge of sports into it, where we know it's the management, marketing, operations, technology that we're really doing. Like, sports is the vehicle that we're delivering the experience. So what are some of the challenges then with a franchisee? I would imagine so many people would want to open a Shoot360. It's got to be difficult though, right? You got to tell people no. You can't tell everybody yes, even if they have the money.
Yeah, that's right. We tell way more people no than we do yes. I mean, that's just the reality of it, whatever the reason is. But we first of all, culture fits number one with us. When we do a discovery day, we think someone's getting there, and our business dev guys are really good at it in terms of just really reading who the person is or the group is. And culture is such a big deal to us when we get them in there. And then, like you said, one of the challenges for me personally is, you know, I love people and I love being around them and I want to give them every advantage. But what you realize is what they really bought is they bought the brand and they bought the marks and the system and the marketing and, you know, how you do something. So if you're not careful and you, like you said, you let people kind of influence it, you can start to get head the wrong direction, I guess. And so I've learned, you know, it's been a learning that we really want to protect the brand because that gives people the best opportunity to be successful. And we're very progressive in the way that we think. That's, you know, we're innovators by nature, just the business that we do. And so we're not sitting on the same thing. We're moving it forward. And so we're listening carefully. So I think we can blend them. Mm-hmm. We can take the ideas and help move the business forward, but not break what is really important, which is how we do Shoot360.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fiume, or Emerging Franchise Group, LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.